My name is Cami Johnson, and I grew up as Camille Juliet Hassradian in Ogden, Utah. My father was Armenian. He's a first-generation Armenian. Came right over when he was 14 and ended up in Logan, Utah, right from Armenia. And my mother grew up in Ogden, and she is a first-generation Dane, so she's right from Denmark. So it was quite interesting growing up in our home. I grew up in a very religious home, but my father did not really believe in all the practices of the LDS Church, where my mother lived and breathed every single word that was in the Book of Mormon and in the King James Version of the Bible. Those things were a testament to her that she was going to make it through life. And it was hard for a lot of years growing up in my home because I was the oldest, and so prayer was hugely important. And we would read the Book of Mormon in our home, and everywhere in our house were plaques of the Ten Commandments and different thoughts about Christ. So I was surrounded with all of that, but we were not weekly churchgoers. So my father grew up in the restaurant business. My father didn't really want us going to church on Sunday. It was a huge deal because he wanted to spend so much time with the family, and he would rather be together as a family the whole day than letting us go to church. So we would make it monthly instead of weekly, which was a little bit hard growing up in Utah, especially in Ogden, because a lot of the church members were very critical of us because they didn't see us every week, which is, I understand, but it still was hard. And it just ended up being something that I learned from. It ended up being a lesson. And so years down the road, I pretty much followed the path of the church. I lived it, breathed it, but I was never baptized because my father would never let me be baptized. And so in college, I met a really nice young man, and my father still said, if you marry him or if you follow the path of the church right now, I will not pay for your wedding. And I was like, okay. So I was like, okay. And then my mom's like, well, we still need to find someone close to what I expect you to marry. So I had this big long list. And so my husband actually was able to be checked off. So it was really fun. And so we got married, and then we have just been married for 22 years. And in those 22 years, my father was married to my mother in the temple about 12 years ago. And it's just been really exciting to see the progress, because that's what we're supposed to do in our life. And a lot of people will come up to me and they'll say, were you so frustrated when your father went through the temple? And I was like, no, I thought that was awesome. And just 5 years ago, it was like 7 years ago, I was baptized into the church, which was really an easy transition for me because I've been prepared for it for 25 years. A lot of my friends were always like, you should be in church. Like, you're living better than we are according to what we're expected in our church. It was really funny, but lovely. I loved it. I've got friends I've had for 30 years, multiple friends that have just been very close to me. And so just recently, my husband and I went through the temple, it was like 4 years ago, which I don't think I shared that in class, but it was a great experience, just something I'd been waiting for my whole life. And it testified to me some of the scriptures that I would look up in my standard works throughout the years of endurance, and I just made it, and we were able to be sealed, and my whole family was sealed. And a lot of that actually started in seminary. My son Nicholas would go to seminary all the time, and he was always like, this is awesome in here, and I think I'm going to be baptized. And it sort of started the whole path of giving me the courage too, and my husband just to slow down a little bit because he had been so busy. He finished as a master sergeant in the military, and he has his master's degree, and he's always worked 2 or 3 jobs. So he slowed down a little bit, and so our life has just sort of figured itself out, and it's been amazing. And there's been a lot of things throughout my life that have really testified to strengthening my belief system. And one of those experiences, I'll share one with you, is I was having my third child. Her name's Grace now. And this was 14 years ago. And I was a big runner at the time, and I would take her all the time. You know, I was pregnant with her, so I'd take her with me, and we'd go run every day, 4 or 5 miles, and the doctor cleared it, and I was fine. But a couple weeks before I was due, I stopped having her move around inside of me. And I was like, oh no, I better go in and check. So I made an appointment, and I went in, and my doctor at the time didn't alert me, but she got me into a room and got me on my back and got me moving. And I was there for like 2 hours. And she's like, okay, we're going to move you, and we're going to go have this baby. And she got me to the hospital. And by the time I got there, they met me at the door, got me up in there, and I could see it was a different experience. It was like she had the room was controlled with emotion. And by the time I got there, they were very alert and worried and got me to the room, and I had nurses up there, and they were moving me, and she was in there within 45 minutes. And I was like, what is going on? She's like, we're just going to hope we can deliver this baby, and she's healthy and safe. And I was like, stop! Before you do anything, I need a blessing. Like, wait. Because growing up, my father didn't have the priesthood, so he couldn't give us a blessing in our home. But my grandfather, who was this amazing, gentle giant, would always come to our house and perform all of them. And so my grandfather had passed away just months before I was about to deliver. So my one of our closest friends, I was like, just call him, get him down here. As a few other people came in, they were able to give me a blessing. And within 45 minutes after that blessing, I delivered my daughter with the cord fully wrapped around her neck, and she was blue, and we thought we had lost her. My husband, my mother, we had no idea what was going to happen at that time, and they were able to resuscitate her, and now she's almost 15, and she's the light of our life and amazing. And even my OBGYN, who was not LDS at the time, and I don't know where she is today, but I remember going in to see her with Grace after about 3 months, and she said, if I were to not have believed in your church before, I do believe in it now, just because of the belief that you have in a greater power. And I've never seen that before. And she said, I have delivered thousands of babies, and in all the babies that I have delivered, I have never seen divine intervention that day like I saw it. And just leaving that day, I thought, all this hard work that I've done just keeping my family connected to God, which is what our responsibility is here, is to make sure our children are connected to God. That is our one responsibility. I was doing it. And so it was really important for me, and even today, for my children to recognize how important it is to keep your connection with a greater power, and to remind yourself that you're not in charge, that there is something and someone else in charge, and everything's going to be okay. And that's probably one of my strongest stories that has ever strengthened my testimony, is why we're living and why we're here. And I enjoy sharing that. And it's just been the highlight, really, of the last almost 15 years of my life. And my daughter's healthy and strong, and I adore her.